To keep seeing more stories, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. If you like this video, share your feedback in the comments section. The unraveling. The mistake. Nathan Pierce stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his downtown Seattle office, watching the city pulse with evening energy 40 stories below. At 38, he had built Pierce Industries into a technology empire worth $3 billion. He had the penthouse, the cars, the private jet, and most importantly, he had Caroline. Or at least he thought he did. The memory of 3 nights ago burned in his mind like acid. A business conference in San Francisco. Too much champagne at the closing gala. Rebecca Stone from the marketing firm, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm, looking at him like he was the most fascinating man alive. Caroline had stayed home with a migraine. He had told himself it meant nothing. Just one night. Just once. But the guilt had followed him home like a shadow with teeth. The wife. Caroline West had married Nathan 5 years ago when he was still building his empire from a garage office and living on coffee and ambition. She had believed in him when investors laughed, had mortgaged her own small inheritance to fund his first major product launch, had stood beside him through every setback and triumph. She was 33 now, a published novelist with 2 bestsellers and a gentle soul that saw beauty in everything. Nathan had always loved that about her. Her softness to his sharp edges, her creativity to his ruthless logic, her unshakable faith that people were fundamentally good. He had spent 5 years proving her right about him. Until 3 nights ago, when he proved her catastrophically wrong. The discovery. Nathan came home that Friday evening to their Belltown penthouse carrying guilt like stones in his pockets and an expensive bouquet of peonies, Caroline's favorite flowers. The apartment was too quiet. Usually, she would be in her writing studio, music playing softly, or in the kitchen experimenting with some new recipe she had found. He found her in their bedroom, sitting on the edge of their bed with her phone in her hands. She looked up when he entered, and Nathan felt his blood turn to ice. Her hazel eyes were red from crying, but they were dry now. That was somehow worse. Caroline, he started, the flowers suddenly feeling obscene in his hands. Rebecca Stone posted a photo on her Instagram, Caroline said quietly. Her voice was steady, which terrified him more than screaming would have. She tagged the hotel. The Fairmont. The same hotel where your conference was held. The timestamp says 2:47 a.m. last Wednesday. Nathan's mind raced. He had been so careful. Or he thought he had been. Caroline, I can explain. The photo shows a man's hand wearing a watch. A Patek Philippe Nautilus with a custom engraving on the back. I should know. I gave you that watch for your 35th birthday. The engraving says, "Time spent loving you is time well spent." I had it custom made. The flowers slipped from Nathan's fingers, scattering across the hardwood floor like shed petals from a funeral arrangement. The confession. It was one night, Nathan heard himself saying, the words tumbling out desperately. One stupid, meaningless night. I was drunk. I was not thinking. It meant absolutely nothing, Caroline. Nothing compared to what we have. Caroline stood slowly, smoothing her hands over her jeans in a gesture so familiar it broke his heart. She had always done that when she needed to steady herself. Do you know what the worst part is? She asked softly. It is not even the cheating, Nathan. It is that you came home and looked me in the eyes for 3 days. You kissed me. You made love to me. You asked me about my day and told me about yours. You lied for 3 entire days without even flinching. I was trying to protect you, Nathan said desperately. No, Caroline replied, her voice still that terrible quiet. You were trying to protect yourself. There is a difference. The decision. Nathan reached for her, but she stepped back. That small movement, that instinctive retreat from his touch, cut deeper than any words. Please, he said, and he was not above begging. Please, Caroline. We can get through this. Marriage counseling, whatever you need. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Caroline walked to the closet and pulled out a suitcase he had not noticed before. It was already packed. "I called Nina," she said, referring to her best friend. "I am staying with her for a while. My lawyer will contact you next week." "Lawyer?" The word came out as a gasp. "Caroline, please. Do not do this. I made one mistake." One. She turned to face him then, and for the first time in 5 years, Nathan did not recognize the woman looking back at him. "That is where you are wrong, Nathan. This was not one mistake. It was 1,000 small choices. The choice to go to her hotel room. The choice to stay. The choice to lie to me for 3 days. The choice to only confess because you got caught. Those were not mistakes. Those were decisions." "I love you," Nathan said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. How had he forgotten that for even one night? "I know you do," Caroline replied sadly. "But love without respect, without honesty, without integrity is just a beautiful word. And I deserve more than beautiful words." The departure. She picked up her suitcase and her laptop bag. Nathan noticed she was not wearing her wedding ring. The tan line on her finger where it had been was like an accusation. "Caroline, wait. Please. Just wait." She paused at the bedroom door, her back to him. "You know what I realized tonight? For 5 years, I made you the center of my universe. My career, my time, my energy, everything revolved around supporting your dreams. I loved you so completely that I forgot to save any love for myself." "That is not true," Nathan protested. "It is true. And the saddest part is, you let me. You took everything I gave and you still wanted more. You wanted excitement. Newness. Whatever Rebecca Stone represented. And in taking that, you lost everything that actually mattered." She walked through the door without looking back. Nathan stood in the bedroom surrounded by scattered peonies and the ghost of his marriage. He could hear the elevator descending, carrying Caroline away from him. Away from them. Away from 5 years of love and promises and future plans that would never happen. He picked up one of the peonies, its soft pink petals already beginning to bruise. Beautiful and fragile and dying. Like everything he had just destroyed with his own hands. His phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca Stone. "Had an amazing time in SF. When can we meet again?" Nathan looked at the message, then at the empty space where his wife had stood, then back at the message. He deleted it, blocked the number, and sank to the floor among the dying flowers. It was already too late. He could feel it in the silence of the penthouse, in the absence of Caroline's laughter, in the cold space in their bed where she would never lie again. He had gambled everything on one meaningless night. And he had lost. The Collapse, Part 2 and 309:21 Part 2, The Collapse. The morning after. Nathan did not sleep that night. He sat on the living room floor surrounded by scattered peonies until dawn broke over Elliott Bay, painting the Seattle skyline in shades of gray and gold that felt like mockery. Beautiful things still existed in a world where he had destroyed his marriage. His phone rang at 7 in the morning. James Mitchell, his business partner and CFO. Nathan let it ring through to voicemail, then listened to the message with growing dread. "Nathan, we have a problem. Caroline's brother Thomas just called an emergency board meeting. He is invoking his shareholder rights. Call me back immediately. Thomas West." Nathan had forgotten, in his spiral of guilt and desperation, that Caroline's brother owned 15% of Pierce Industries. The money from Caroline's inheritance that she had invested in Nathan's company had been transferred to her brother's name for tax purposes 3 years ago, with the understanding that it was still Caroline's investment, her stake in Nathan's dream. That understanding had just evaporated. The brother. The emergency board meeting convened at 9 in the morning in Pierce Industries' glass-walled conference room. Thomas West sat at the far end of the table, his resemblance to Caroline evident in the shape of his eyes and the set of his jaw. But where Caroline was soft and gentle, Thomas was sharp and unforgiving. "Gentlemen," Thomas began, not looking at Nathan. I am here to discuss the future of my investment in this company. Nathan's hands clenched under the table. Thomas, whatever is happening between Caroline and me is personal. It has nothing to do with business. Thomas finally looked at him, and the contempt in his eyes was scorching. You are right. What you did to my sister is personal. This is business. For 5 years, I have watched Caroline sacrifice her own career, her own ambitions, to support yours. She believed in you. She invested in you. And you repaid that faith by sleeping with someone else the moment she was not looking. That is not fair, Nathan started. Fair? Thomas interrupted. You want to talk about fair? Caroline called me 3 nights ago, Nathan. She knew before she ever saw that Instagram post. Do you want to know how? Nathan's stomach dropped. You called her from San Francisco. 2 in the morning. You were drunk and you were crying and you told her you had made a terrible mistake. Then you hung up. She spent the next 3 days waiting for you to tell her the truth, giving you chance after chance to be honest. And you lied to her face every single time. The room spun. Nathan remembered that call now through the haze of champagne and guilt. He had thought it was a dream, a nightmare confession that never actually happened. I am selling my shares, Thomas announced. All 15%. I have already received an offer from Quantum Technologies. James Mitchell went pale. Quantum is our biggest competitor. If they get 15% of our company, they get board representation, Thomas finished. They get access to our strategic planning. They get a foothold to destroy everything Nathan has built. I know exactly what I am doing. The therapist. Caroline sat in Dr. Laura Chen's office overlooking Lake Union, watching sailboats drift across water that sparkled with afternoon sun. She had been coming here for 3 days, twice-a-day sessions, trying to process the implosion of her marriage. How are you feeling today? Dr. Chen asked gently. Caroline considered the question. Empty, she said finally. For 5 years, being Nathan's wife was my identity. I was so proud of what we built together. And now I realize we did not build anything together. I built a pedestal for him to stand on, and he built his empire on top of my sacrificed dreams. Tell me about your dreams, Dr. Chen encouraged. I wanted to be a writer. I am a writer, technically. 2 published novels. But do you know when I wrote them? Between midnight and 4 in the morning, because my days were spent managing Nathan's schedule, hosting dinners for his investors, being the perfect supportive wife. My second book came out 8 months ago. Nathan did not read it. He said he would, but he was too busy. Always too busy. Caroline's voice cracked. I made myself smaller and smaller to fit into his life. And apparently I was still too much, because he needed someone else. You are grieving, Dr. Chen said. Not just the marriage, but the person you became in that marriage. The person who thought love meant sacrifice instead of partnership. I am angry, Caroline admitted. Not just at Nathan. At myself. For allowing it. For accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. The unraveling. Nathan's world collapsed with stunning speed. Thomas sold his shares to Quantum Technologies on Monday. By Tuesday, Quantum had installed their own representative on the board and begun questioning every strategic decision Nathan had made in the past year. By Wednesday, 3 major investors had called emergency meetings to discuss leadership concerns. By Thursday, Nathan stood in his office watching his assistant pack up her desk. I am sorry, Mr. Pierce, she said quietly. But Quantum Technologies offered me double my salary to come work for them. I cannot turn that down. She was the 5th employee to defect in 3 days. James found Nathan standing at his office window that evening, staring at nothing. We need to talk about the Singapore deal, James said carefully. What about it? Nathan asked, though he already knew. They are pulling out. They cited concerns about company stability and leadership. Nathan, that was a $40 million contract. Without it, our Q3 projections are completely destroyed. Nathan turned to face his oldest friend. Tell me honestly. Can we survive this? James was quiet for a long moment. Not if it continues. We have lost 12 key employees, one major contract, and our stock price has dropped 18% in 4 days. The board is talking about a vote of no confidence. They want to remove you as CEO. Let them, Nathan said tiredly. I deserve it. This is not about what you deserve, James snapped, frustration breaking through. This is about 300 employees who depend on this company for their livelihoods. This is about technology that could change entire industries. You built something incredible, Nathan. Do not let one night of stupidity destroy it all. It already has, Nathan replied. I destroyed it the moment I betrayed Caroline. Everything else is just consequences catching up. The attempt. Nathan went to Nina's apartment Friday evening. Nina Rodriguez had been Caroline's best friend since college, and Nathan knew Caroline was staying there. He also knew Nina hated him now with the burning intensity of 1,000 suns. She answered the door with her arms crossed. You have 30 seconds before I call the police. Please, Nina. I just need to talk to her. 5 minutes. I will leave her alone forever if she wants, but I need to try to explain. Explain what? Nina demanded. Explain how you threw away 5 years of marriage for one night with some woman whose name you probably do not even remember. Rebecca Stone, Nathan said quietly. Her name is Rebecca Stone and I remember everything about that night. I remember how wrong it felt. I remember hating myself even while it was happening. I remember calling Caroline and confessing because the guilt was eating me alive. Nina's expression softened fractionally. She is not here. Where is she? That is none of your business anymore. But Nathan, I am going to tell you something because Caroline is too kind to say it herself. She does not hate you. She is not even angry anymore. She is just done. You broke something in her that trusted and believed and hoped. And the worst part is, she is relieved. Do you understand that? Relieved that it is over. Because being married to you was exhausting her in ways she did not even realize until she left. The words hit Nathan like physical blows. I love her. I know you do, Nina said, and there was pity in her voice now. But you loved yourself more. And that is why you have lost her. The realization. Nathan returned to the penthouse that felt like a mausoleum. Caroline's absence was everywhere. Her book collection missing from the shelves. Her plants gone from the windowsills. Her coffee mug no longer sitting in the sink because she always forgot to put it in the dishwasher. He walked into her writing studio, the one room he had barely entered in years because it was her space, her sanctuary. The room was empty now except for a single piece of paper on the desk. It was a letter in Caroline's elegant handwriting. Nathan, by the time you read this, the divorce papers will have been filed. I need you to understand something. This is not about punishment or revenge. This is about survival. Being married to you was slowly erasing me. Every day, I gave a little more of myself away. My time, my energy, my dreams, my identity. I became Caroline Pierce, Nathan's wife, instead of Caroline West, a person in her own right. You did not ask me to disappear. But you allowed it. You benefited from it. And when I was reduced to almost nothing, you still wanted more. You wanted excitement from someone new because I had become boring in my devotion. I forgive you for cheating. But I will never forgive you for making me forget my own worth. I am leaving to find myself again. Please do not look for me. Let me go. Let us both be free. Caroline. Nathan read the letter 3 times before the tears came. Great, gasping sobs that shook his entire body. He had lost her. Completely and irrevocably lost her. And the worst part was knowing she was right about everything. He had taken her love for granted. Had accepted her sacrifices as his due. Had stopped seeing her as a partner and started seeing her as an accessory to his success. One night of betrayal had not destroyed his marriage. 5 years of taking without giving had. The affair was just the final crack in a foundation he had been slowly eroding all along. His phone buzzed. Another board member calling for his resignation. Nathan let it ring. For the first time in his adult life, he did not care about the company, the money, the success. He cared about the woman he had driven away. And she was already gone. The reckoning. The mother. Victoria Sterling arrived at her son's penthouse unannounced on a gray Tuesday morning 2 weeks after Caroline left. She found Nathan unshaven, still in yesterday's clothes, the apartment a disaster of takeout containers and empty bottles. "Get up," she said sharply, pulling open curtains to let brutal sunlight flood the space. Nathan squinted at her. "Mother. What are you doing here?" "Saving you from yourself, apparently." Victoria was 63, elegant and formidable, a retired federal judge who had never tolerated weakness in her courtroom or her family. "When was the last time you showered?" "I do not know." "What day is it?" Victoria sat down across from him, her expression softening slightly. "Nathan. I raised you better than this." "Did you?" Nathan laughed bitterly. "Because it seems like I learned very well how to prioritize career over relationships. Wonder where I got that from." The barb hit its mark. Victoria had divorced Nathan's father when Nathan was 12, citing irreconcilable differences that everyone knew meant his father's affair with his paralegal. She had thrown herself into her career afterward, becoming one of the youngest federal judges in Washington state. Nathan had been raised by nannies and boarding schools. "Fair enough," Victoria said quietly. "I was not the best mother. I chose my career over my marriage, over being present for you. And I see now that you learned exactly what I taught. That success matters more than people." "Caroline left me," Nathan said, the words still feeling unreal. "She is divorcing me and she is right to do it." "I know. I spoke with her yesterday." Nathan's head snapped up. "You what?" "I called her. I wanted to understand what happened. She was gracious enough to take my call, which is more than you deserve." Victoria leaned forward. "She told me everything. The affair, yes, but more than that. She told me about 5 years of being invisible. Of supporting your dreams while abandoning her own. Of becoming so small in your shadow that she forgot she had her own light." "I know," Nathan whispered. "I know I did that to her." "Here is what I came to tell you," Victoria said. "You have a choice to make. You can sit here drowning in self-pity and watch everything you build crumble. Your company, your reputation, your future. Or you can get up, face the consequences of your actions, and try to salvage something from this disaster." "What is the point?" Nathan asked. "Without Caroline, none of it matters." "Then you have learned nothing," Victoria said sharply. "The point is not to win her back. You will not win her back, Nathan. She is gone. The point is to become the man who deserves her, even if you can never have her again. The point is to stop making the same mistakes I made. The point is growth." The lawyer. David Park sat across from Caroline in his downtown office, reviewing the divorce settlement. He was 52, graying, and had handled more high-profile divorces in Seattle than anyone else in the state. "Caroline, I need you to understand something," he said carefully. "Under Washington state law, you are entitled to half of everything. Half the penthouse, half the company shares, half the investment portfolios. We are talking about over $1.5 billion. Caroline shook her head. "I do not want it." "Excuse me?" "I want enough to support myself while I focus on my writing. Enough for a comfortable apartment, living expenses for a few years while I build my career. That is all." David removed his glasses, cleaning them slowly. "Caroline, I have been doing this for 28 years. I have never, not once, had a client in your position turn down a fair settlement. Nathan Pierce destroyed your marriage. You are entitled to compensation for that. Nathan did not destroy our marriage, Caroline said quietly. We both did. I allowed myself to disappear. I said yes to every request, every demand on my time, every sacrifice. I enabled his selfishness by never setting boundaries. Taking his money will not give me back the years I lost. It will just tie me to him forever. What do you want then? I want the advance I paid for his first product launch returned. $250,000. I want it acknowledged in the divorce decree that I was an investor and partner, not just a wife. And I want my freedom. Clean break. No spousal support, no ongoing ties. David studied her for a long moment. You have changed in the past 2 weeks. I have remembered who I was before I became Nathan's wife, Caroline replied. That person did not need $1 billion to know her worth. The confrontation. The final divorce mediation happened in a neutral conference room downtown. Nathan arrived early, desperate for even a glimpse of Caroline. When she walked in with David Park, Nathan barely recognized her. She had cut her hair into a sleek bob. She wore a burgundy dress he had never seen before, simple and elegant. But the biggest change was in her eyes. They were clear and calm, looking at him without anger or pain or love. Just polite distance, like he was a stranger she was being forced to do business with. Caroline, he started, half rising from his chair. Let us keep this professional, she said evenly, taking her seat across from him. Nathan's lawyer, Richard Chen, began reviewing the proposed settlement. My client is confused by your requests, Mrs. Pierce. You are entitled to significantly more than you are asking for. I am aware of my legal rights, Caroline replied. I am choosing not to exercise them. Nathan could not stay silent. Caroline, please take what you deserve. The money, the penthouse, half of everything. You earned it. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and Nathan saw something in her expression that broke him. Pity. Nathan, I do not want your money. I never wanted your money. I wanted a partner. I wanted someone who saw me as an equal, who valued my dreams as much as his own, who understood that marriage is about building a life together, not one person sacrificing everything for the other's success. I know, Nathan said desperately. I know I failed you. I know I took you for granted. I know I was selfish and blind and stupid. Caroline, I am so sorry. I know you are. And I forgive you. But that does not change anything. It could, Nathan pleaded. We could start over. I could be better. I could be the husband you deserved from the beginning. Caroline smiled sadly. Nathan, you still do not understand. I do not want you to be a better husband to me. I want you to be a better person for yourself. And I need to be my own person, not half of someone else's story. The revelation. Richard Chen cleared his throat. There is one other matter. Mr. Pierce wanted me to inform you that he has resigned as CEO of Pierce Industries effective immediately. Caroline's composure cracked for the first time. What? Nathan, no. That company is everything to you. No, Nathan said quietly. That company was my excuse to avoid everything else. My excuse to prioritize work over you. My excuse to be absent and unavailable and selfish. The board was going to force me out anyway after the quantum technology situation. I am just saving everyone the trouble. The quantum situation, Caroline repeated, realization dawning. Thomas sold his shares. He had every right to. I hurt his sister. He protected you the only way he could. By destroying your company, Caroline said, and there was something almost like regret in her voice. By holding me accountable, Nathan corrected. Something I should have done myself long ago. David Park spoke up. If you have resigned as CEO, what are your plans? Nathan looked directly at Caroline. I am selling my majority stake in the company. I am keeping enough to be comfortable, but the rest I am putting toward a foundation. The Caroline West Creative Arts Foundation. Scholarships and grants for artists and writers who have sacrificed their own dreams to support someone else. People like you who gave